Call the meeting to order. It's 6:03, I think. And let's see, I guess we have so the missing folks at the moment are Dave, Jonathan. I guess that's it. Oh, Jonathan's here. Okay, thank you, Jonathan. So Dave's the only outstanding person. Chuck's excused. Okay, so I want to start the meeting tonight. And I want to make it just a couple comments about our meeting process. No, I'm muted. Okay. All right, so we're going to get going. I think everybody's here, but Dave, Chuck has an excused absence. So
Okay,
thank
so
you.
Dave earlier contacted me that somehow his computer was screwed up and I should send him the contact on his wife's computer. And I hope that got through okay. I was rushing to another hearing. So
Yeah, both Kevin and I have sent that to him. So
okay, good.
hopefully he's not having any trouble with that with the other computer. So I talked to him several times today. So
Good.
hopefully
Okay.
he'll be here soon. So anyway, I want to wish everybody a happy new year and I'm excited about getting a 2024 started on the right foot. And in that spirit, I just wanted to mention that I'd like for us just to give pause to think about how we're conducting our meetings. And I just want to encourage everybody to really think about taking turns, really holding our meetings in a way that's just a little bit more respectful and trying to not to interrupt each other so much. And you can raise your hands. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm for some of the issues that we're addressing. I get that. But it makes it hard, I think, for everyone to follow and for some people to participate. You have to excuse me for 1 second. Come here. Come here. Come here. Okay, that should be my last dog obligation of the evening. Forgive me. So anyway, I just want to encourage us to try to keep ourselves with a little bit more orderliness in our meeting process here. So and as I promised you, I will try to keep the meeting on track so we can get done as soon as possible. So anyway, with that, welcome everybody, and also want to thank the Department of Environment staff for your continued support and assistance for our commission. And I'm excited to start this new year with you. Although I'm really sorry that I know that today must have been one heck of a day for your staff. So thank you for your work and picking up solid waste in this really incredibly bad weather. So I know it was probably pretty challenging. So thanks to you and your staff for all of that. I saw the notice that was sent out today that things were running on time and were running well. And no, Bill's shaking his head no. Your trash didn't get. You're muted. Bill, you're muted. You're muted.
Yeah. No, mine hasn't been picked up yet, but it's out there for pickup. So
Okay.
there's no way they could have done it this morning. They didn't do any plowing in my neighborhood, so the trucks would not have been able to make it through safely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct, Nancy. We did our best. Not everything's been collected, but they'll keep it out because they're gonna be out there tomorrow.
That's fine. It's no big deal to me one way or another.
Thank you.
So thanks to everyone on the crew for hanging in there with what was probably a pretty tough day. We haven't had much snow in a long time. Okay, so moving along, I did have made some changes to the agenda, just the order, and I've added a few new items at the end, which include talking about mattress recycling, a really great project that I learned that DOE is working on and planning for, which they'll talk a little bit about tonight, which is bicycle reuse. And also want to just provide an opportunity to talk a little bit about hauler issues and not so much have that conversation tonight, but invite a process where we can give some really targeted feedback to DOE about, I know what's been longstanding complaints about hauler issues in the county. So we're going to start, instead of the committee, we're going to start with this fabulous report that I sent out earlier today, and we'll endeavor to get this out sooner in the month next time. But again, thanks to Marilyn and Kevin for pulling all this together. So I'm not sure who wants to go over the report with us. I know, Marilyn, you might not be up to speed your voice, but I don't know who wants to go through this. This is fabulous.
Nancy?
Yes.
This is Dave. I'm on my wife's computer tonight, and I'm not sure about, I don't think I'm going to come on with a video for some reason. But anyway, I'm here. I just want to let you know I'm here.
Okay, thank you. All it says is owner.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, well, welcome. Glad you're here. I sent out, if you're sitting presumably at your computer in your email, you'll find a copy of the Resource Recovery Division monthly report to us. So you can follow along on that, but I don't know, Kevin or Marilyn? Kevin, maybe? Can you take
I
us
can.
through it? It's a lot
Sure.
of really great stuff.
Yeah, I can provide an overview of our,
I'm not sure everybody's seen it, so that would probably be really helpful.
Okay. So some key updates from RRD. Let's start with the Better Bug Bill. So based on data that we collected from our communications, a lot of activities have been done in this regard in terms of outreach. So we have issued press release ranging from the issuance of press release, creation of vanity website, building out our website page, drafting the fact sheets, as well as the Tuesday Tip social media. We also included the bill in this our Sprout newsletter, and also we have shared we have drafted administration blurb to share with community stakeholders. We created talking points, and also we ran newspaper ad at Washington Informer. On Washington Informer, we also generated digital and ad mailing through Washington Informer as well. We created business mailer to 40,000 county businesses, and we posted BIR guidelines in various languages on the website, in different languages, so Chinese, French, Korean, Spanish, and Vietnamese. And we also work with various media outlets to promote the legislation via WTOP, WUSA, WTTG, and WJLA. Some of the pending tasks are setting up of the billboards, which will start in January this month, as well as the bus shelter advertisements.
Great.
We're also planning to hold HOA civic group virtual meetings, purchase and distribute additional reusable bags, and then distribution of the BR guidelines fact sheet to libraries. And also we will be working with various media outlets to promote the legislation. We are also considering providing bags to food banks and other nonprofit organizations. And of course, we will update the PGC Proud website with updated information on the legislation. So these are the pending tasks as far as the Better Bug Bill legislation is concerned.
Okay, Kevin, let me stop you for a second.
Sure.
If you don't mind, I just wanted to note that in the email that I sent out contained copies of a number of the fact sheets and materials on no, that's on the composting. Okay, forgive me. No, that's the composting. Sorry, not the bitter bag bill. Sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, but you did
Yeah.
send it to us because I'm looking at it. So, I'm looking at what Kevin's going over. So hopefully everybody else has it too.
Yes, you should also have the list. So I guess
Yep.
it would be good if anybody has questions about, this is quite extensive outreach, and we've discussed this last month quite a bit. Is there are any additional thoughts or questions about the outreach process for the bag bill?
Well,
No.
sorry. So, this is Nyla speaking. So I was getting ready to just email, a little bit as far as, promoting outreach to maybe businesses via postcards or in person, sort of impromptu visits, because a lot of the smaller, mom and pop store restaurants and even some of the bigger, restaurants such as McDonald's and Burger King and other big ones, there's a mismatch between what they're learning about and interpreting the bill as and what the consumers are understanding about it. On Nextdoor, the app, there's a lot of either pushback, there's some confusion, and there's of course some people who are in support of the bag bill and the reusable bags, of course, and the paper bags. Some have some complaints, but that's just a part of this whole growing pains process. But the whole exemptions, the three main ones exemptions, people are questioning that. I'm trying to inform them. Yes, it applies to the drive-through. It applies through those who have leftovers at a full-service dine-in restaurant, and also prescription bags at your local, Walgreens, CVS, what have you. And then there's the kind of the anger about the prices, the minimum bag price, which is 10 cents. Some retailers charge more, some charge 10 cents, and there's not consistency of that. Some are $1, that kind of thing. There are more issues, but those are just the ones that I wanted to kind of voice about. But I'll keep fighting in the comments on Nextdoor defending the bill, because a lot of people they either don't get it, and then some people are like, well, this is why back in the day we went to plastic because paper was killing the trees, and now we're back to the paper, and they're like, oh, Charles County wouldn't do this. Well, I'm like, this is Prince George's County, and other counties in Maryland either have passed the bill or are having a bill that's going to be passed soon. So it's just trying to inform the restaurants who don't know, kind of defend the bill for the consumers who are putting up a fight, and then like really supporting the folks who agree with the bill.
Okay, thanks, Nyla.
So I also have a question.
Go ahead, Mr. Cole.
Yeah, so I would like to know if the department has started enforcement, because I have noticed over the weekend that some supermarket are still serving plastic bag, to their customers.
Well, there's a 90-day grace period for businesses to get on board, and they have 74 days left in the grace period. So since the beginning of the year, and then after that, they're supposed to get a warning from DOE, and then after that, the fines instituted. But I think you're right, about the bags, being dispensed out, because like places like Safeway and stuff, they're either like I commented on the post about this, like they're getting rid of their stock because of course they can't or sell it or whatever. They gotta get rid of it somehow. So it's either that or sometimes whoever wants it can have it. But there's also there's another point I want to raise about this. Is the last point. God, I know I'm going on. When people are wanting to get food, like food delivery, there is an option to purchase the bags through the app, and people are declining to, of course, purchase the bags. But then that means they just get their food to them. They don't get the bags associated with them because that's 10 cents Instacart or Amazon, whatever is charging them. So that's another thing. So they're like, and then whatever that app charges for the bags, minimum 10 cents or more, You know, if they don't decline the cost of the bag, they're grappling about how much it costs. That's another thing. And then another thing, last thing, is that consumers who want to, you know, get food from McDonald's or what have you, these restaurants are not taking, some of these restaurants are not taking the public's reusable bags to put their own food in to save the 10 cents or however many cents it is per bag. That's another thing. People are up in arms about. They're like, I'm not trying to pay 10 cents per bag when I can bring my own, and it's my order that I want in my own bag when they come to, you know, pick it up or whatever. That's another
Okay.
point.
Thanks, Nyla. Marilyn, did you want to respond?
Yes, that's exactly correct. There is a 90-day grace period, we'll call it, for the full law to go into effect. So the way we are approaching that, we're aware that some stores are still using the single-use plastic bags. So the way that we are approaching that is our inspector will provide the education outreach information about the legislation. They can go ahead and issue a corrective order, which is what we call a violation notice, does not carry that civil penalty or what we also call a fine. But what we will do is once that violation notice or, you know, corrective orders issued, after that 90th day, when we're back out to that business, if they still are using and providing the single-use plastic bags, our inspector will then issue the civil citation right then and there.
That's how much per, it's $500?
It's, I believe, I have to go back and look, but I do believe it's 500 per incident.
Yeah, that's what I thought I saw. Okay, Barbara?
So I just wanted to make a comment that I mentioned to Martha how I thought it was very funny. I went in for New Year's champagne at the liquor store, had what I thought was a plastic bag. And I said, you got to get rid of this in one day. And they said, oh, no, this is a compostable bag. This is fine. I mentioned that to Martha and she said, no, 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 no. Compostable bags are not allowed either. So it's just that people know that, because I would have thought that a compostable bag would have been okay, but it isn't by the law. So that's, and I don't think that that is very much emphasized in the presentation of the new regs.
Marilyn?
Yeah, compostable bags are not allowed because that's, you know, when an inspector, anybody goes in the store, it's really hard to then discern, you know, is a bag compostable or is it not compostable? So compostable bags are not allowed, and that's part of our enforcement.
Is that being well publicized? I mean,
I believe so. I'll go back and take a look at the outreach, but I believe so.
thank you.
Yes.
Because I knew a lot about the bag bill, but I had no idea with the compostable thing. And the other people on the call, I don't think anybody else knew it either.
Yeah, because the only bags allowed are either the paper bags, or if it's a reusable bag, which can include bags made of various types of plastic. The bag must
As long
have,
as they've stitching.
exactly, the bags must have stitched handles, and that's what is really a key factor in you know, a reusable bag versus what's deemed like a single-use bag.
Okay, so let me suggest that if people have additional comments or experiences that they want DOE to be aware of, please send them to me. And I'll put them all together and forward them so that it's in a more organized fashion. So if later on you read through here and you come across the website or something and you have a thought or a comment about it, anything that you might be thinking, please send those materials to me and I'll pull those together we'll get an update next month and see how all this is going. I encourage everybody where you can to look around in your environment and see, look for the material that DOE is producing. You're bound to come across it. They're putting stuff in many places. Okay, that's great. It sounds like quite an extensive outreach campaign, so that looks quite good. Okay, so Kevin, sorry, I just thought it'd be better to answer in the order we're doing.
Okay. So next, on the 2024-2033 10-year plan, the county executive office has transmitted a draft document to the county council.
Oh, you skipped
On
compost.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, let me just follow the order in the
Yeah,
document that I gave you. Okay. So for the compost rollout, so the target to complete the distribution of organic carts and bins is no later than end of January 2024. So RRD is in the process of distributing the carts and bins along with the information materials to the residents.
okay,
And the target completion is by end of January this year.
okay,
Kevin, I have a question.
okay, Bill.
This is Dave.
Oh, Dave, sorry.
Yeah. When you were doing the rollout, have the residents, the 180,000 or however how many households are, have they been, were they told ahead of time that this was happening? Or did they just receive the buckets? Or the-
They received a direct letter in the mail.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay, to continue, on the 10-year plan, the document has been transmitted to the county council on January 12th, and the next step is for the plan to be calendared for deliberation and public comments. And according to our legislative liaison, I think the plan will be deliberated on next week.
By the TIEE committee.
Yes, by the committee, yes.
And
No,
Kevin,
that's not.
hold
that's-
on. Oh, go ahead, Kenny.
Let me just as the one dealing with the council schedule we're working out the dates right now on how the plan will be processed because there's some state requirements in there for public hearings and such. So we got to get those on the calendar first before we can put it on a TIEE agenda. So as soon as we identify what date that is, I'll make sure to let the group know. But it's definitely not going to be. Our first meeting is on the 25th, I believe. 25th, and so it's not going to be on that agenda yet.
Okay.
So what happens once it gets transmitted, we have to put it on the agenda for the first time sort of transmitting it to the committee. And so once all that happens, we'll do that once we get all the dates worked out. So
Okay,
coming
great.
soon.
Thank you.
Okay, good. We're almost there. I want to encourage everybody to be sure you have a copy of the 2020 version of it. If you don't, please email me and I will send it to you. In fact, I will probably send out something and advise you specifically where to look and to review the document so we can be prepared because it's a very short window for the review. Okay, Kevin, sorry, go ahead.
Next, on the waste sort at the OCF. So based on our discussion with our risk management office, SWAC members will be permitted to participate in the next waste sort. But there will be a hold harmless agreement that will have to be signed by SWAC, and we already will forward it to you, Nancy, within the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
However, the next waste sort date is yet to be determined, and we will let you know.
That's
Okay.
great.
Next on Area C, so our project manager will provide an update on the Area C during your February meeting. We will invite him to present some updates about how Area C is progressing. So that will happen next month.
Okay, Kevin, let me just stop you for a second. Just remind everybody that the Area C project is what's being developed by the county to handle for another, I think, 50 years or so, the landfill process. So Area A and B will be closed, and C will take on the main landfill functions for the county.
That's
Okay,
correct,
Kevin,
yes.
thank you. Yeah.
Okay. On the landfill gas beneficial use, the county is so the RFIs that were submitted are being reviewed by our consultant, and it will be delivered to the county within the next 2 weeks, before end of January. And based on that information, the county will set the direction as to the next step, which is the development of the RFP, which will occur in February. So right now, there's a consultant which is doing the review of the RFI and will make recommendations to the county, and then the county will decide on the next steps as far as having the RFP is concerned.
Okay, great. All right, terrific.
Next, we provided a list of grants that we have submitted, and we are awaiting for some results. It's a list. It's a long list, but we are awaiting for some grants, like the Prince George's County Public School Expansion Program on food scrap collection. We are also some grants are also in the implementation phase, and also you discussed last month, Nancy, about the climate pollution reduction grant,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to capture that. So the update is that we have submitted a concept proposal to MWCOG on seeking financial assistance for the implementation of the new MDA regulations on landfill methane regulations. So it's basically asking for some financial assistance related to infrastructure interventions and enhancing our monitoring as far as landfill methane gas is concerned. So it's just a concept because the Council of Government is soliciting inputs from local jurisdictions, and so we're trying to make a list of ideas, inputs from jurisdictions as to what to prioritize when the formal submission of proposals will happen. So yeah.
So
We're-
Kevin, do you know if anything additional had been submitted? Was that the only concept that came from DOE?
That's the only concept that DOE submitted to MWCOG, Nancy.
Okay, all right.
Kevin, if we have, this is Dave again, if we had another idea or suggestion or kind of a concept, could the commission submit that to you?
Dave, I don't know if they would accept And that any further, they had a survey open, but my understanding it closed on January 12th.
Yes,
Um,
12.
I know
Yeah,
that I had a number of conversations with different people and that I filled out a survey that had included information about reuse and compost and so forth, that included some of those ideas. Anybody could contribute that material. It was separate from the concept proposal submission process. It was an open to the public process, actually. Marilyn?
Yeah, and Kevin, help me out here, or correct me if needed. There are some other grants that we either already applied for or that we're aware of that will be forthcoming this spring that we've been alerted to, where we either already have asked or we will be asking for infrastructure, for instance, at the composting facility. For instance, we would like to have funded a deep packaging machine, because that would help the county with respect to accepting a lot more of the like expired boxed goods and canned goods from the commercial sector, because we have to have a way to depackage that food, and we don't believe the stores have the space or capacity to be depackaging their own like expired food off their shelves. So depackaging machine is a ask. Of course, we always are very good at asking for funding for education and outreach, because interestingly enough, education and outreach is one of the areas that we find, for whatever reason, there's more success in getting dollars for education and outreach, moreover than the actual infrastructure needs that we have. But Kevin, can you speak a little bit about what some of the asks have either already been or we plan to ask with respect to infrastructure at especially the composting facility?
I know there's an upcoming grant from I believe it's EPA, and that will open in April. You're right, Marlon, in April. So some of our initial proposals are to have that the packaging machine uh, for consideration. And then there are two other grants. I could not remember the names, but they're from the state. So we could take advantage of those grants to request for funding for our education, uh, and also that the packaging machine.
Yeah, and didn't we already submit a grant application that we were not awarded for a depackaging machine at the compost facility?
Yes, we did, Marlon. We submitted one to the US EPA, where we proposed a depackaging machine, but we did not get the award. We did not get that grant. So we'll try again.
Yeah, because we're very interested in grant funding, especially with these infrastructure grants the federal government has for a depackaging machine at the compost facility. And then secondly, after that would be funding for a receiving building at the compost facility.
Okay.
Yeah, there was actually a water and solid waste grant that closed on Monday. There's a lot, and it was part of the infrastructure, the infrastructure funding. There's right now, there's a lot of funding. And just even keeping track and knowing what's there is a job in itself. There's just so much coming down the pike right now. So anything we can do to help support the department to get much needed funds, especially for education and outreach, but also for operations, let us know, please keep us informed and let us know what we can do to support those efforts.
And yeah, that's very much appreciated.
Even, I mean, we could even write letters of support. There's things we can probably do to help.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Like for instance, when we made application, which we did receive the grant for the pilot at the schools. Now there is a second grant that we applied for or are applying for. That's a much larger amount of money for the schools. But the schools themselves were not allowed to apply for the grant, but the county was. So we made application, and within that application process, it did require like a letter of support. So going back to your point, that would be very helpful, knowing that SWAC is available
Yep.
to provide a letter of support. Because in the case of the school grant, we did get a letter of support from the Prince George's County Public School System.
Yeah, we would be happy to do that. Bill? Enter hand.
Yes, yeah, with those, let's say when you didn't receive the grant, your initial grant for the depackaging machine, do you get a debrief from the issuing agency as to why you didn't get it so that you can improve that? Okay.
Yeah, yes, they did. We did have a debriefing session. And Kevin, I believe you attended. I know Jessica Moore, our recycling section manager, attended.
Yeah, yes, yes. Mhm. We
Okay.
get
Yes,
it. We get,
so that is an opportunity. Not all have provided a debriefing, but I know this most recent one, we did get the email saying, hey, let us know if you're interested in a debriefing. And we definitely, absolutely took advantage of that, like you said, to help us understand, not only why the county, we didn't get awarded, but to help us moving forward for, future grant applications as well.
Typically the government, even if they don't, let's say, offer it, you can request a debrief, and it seems to be always to the advantage to do so. If for no other reason, then you get more face time with the people
Yes.
who are evaluating things, and they become a little bit more comfortable with how you operate and how your interest levels are and all that other stuff. So it's always advantageous, at least, being a contractor with the government, we always requested debriefs because, again, there's something to be had for them.
Yeah, I agree completely. So typically what our experience is when the grantor or the agency, that's offering the grant, offers a debriefing, typically there's a lot more information provided. And some of our grant applications where we were not awarded, they didn't offer debriefing. And exactly that, when we did ask, to help assist us to understand, perhaps not only, why the county didn't get awarded, but, just to help us understand other factors within the grant to help us in the future. Typically, those kind of responses are much shorter than like a formal debriefing when they come out and say, hey, counties, would you like a debriefing? Because usually those responses are, sorry, but there were just other jurisdictions submitted a request for something that they found perhaps more valuable to the public. So it was always like there was a better selection, and it's kind of a much shorter and a lot less information than a debriefing when they offer a debriefing.
Okay, thank you. Dave, question?
Yeah,
Comment?
two questions for Marilyn. Number one, you talked about that receiving building. What exactly is that?
Well, so a receiving building, as the facility gears up, should we get, let's say, a lot more commercial, let's say we have a depackaging equipment and we start getting a lot more commercial food waste, or I'm not going to call that scraps, because in this case it's like food waste because it's expired goods from a grocery store, for instance. So the higher volume of food that we start taking in at the facility, we always have that balancing act to make sure that we're not generating any potential odors because we do not want odor complaints within the area of the compost facility. So what a receiving building does is that's, just think of a building with a concrete floor, sort of like at the MRF where the tipping area is, where the trucks come in. We call it tip. They tip their material or dump their material onto the tipping floor. And then, everything is handled as far as receiving the material in this building. It has these biofilters that control the odors. And then from there, it gets managed, going out into the GORE system itself. So theoretically, with a receiving building, the food is never out in the open on the open pad waiting to then go undercover. It goes from the receiving building into the GORE system. So the main purpose is to control odors.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Which is critical.
Right.
Because the odor issue is what shut down the facility in Delaware.
Yeah, even though I don't
Yeah.
think you have very many neighbors near you, but I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, but yes, we always have to be, I'm going to say extremely mindful of the odors and controlling the odors. And right now we're fine. We're fine. We've had no odor complaints. But again, as we, if we start getting, which we should be getting more commercial expired foods and things like that, especially with the state law that went into effect, we know at some point, and that's why we're already planning for it now. It's just the budget. It's the money, right? To have it developed.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
One last question. You had the debriefing. Did you find out maybe some reasons why you weren't able to get to depacker?
Kevin, that's I wasn't on it, but Kevin, did they give any specifics by county, or was it in general?
So the debriefing that we got was for another grant that we applied for. It's for the reuse center with EPA Region 3. And one of the comment was we needed more justifications for the facility, so more numbers and more data to justify the setting up of a reuse center. So that was the debriefing was for that grant for the reuse center, not for the packaging machine.
But that's good information to know, Kevin, for SWAC here, that we did make application, an attempt to get grant funding for a reuse center, because as everyone knows, that is in our 10-year solid waste plan, and it is a goal of ours to eventually have a reuse center, because there's so much bulky material, and we know some of it is gently used and could go back out, for instance, to people in need, or college students, or just anyone who is in need of used furniture or things like that.
That's great. I didn't know that you all had done that. I'm really glad to hear that. That's wonderful. Barbara, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say maybe one way that SWAC members could help the DOE is some of us have a fair amount of experience with grants. I know, like at Hopkins, I, for 35 years, funded my lab's research, of course, entirely by writing grants, and was on a jillion review study sections for NIH, ACS, Cancer Society, whatever. So a lot of us have, I think, experience in writing and reviewing grants, and would be very happy to help with the writing or with critiquing before they get sent out. Because we always find it in my department at Hopkins that having multiple people critique grants before they get sent out makes for a way higher probability of them getting funded in the end.
Yeah, Barbara, I think that's a tremendous offer. And I mean, I believe we could use the help, especially since you're experienced. And so let me just, what I'll do is I will just make sure that during our grant process that we're allowed to, utilize, SWAC's voluntary help. I don't see why that would be a no answer. But let me check into that, because that is a tremendous offer. And I do
Love to.
appreciate it. Mm-hmm.
It'd be good if all that grant reviewing would have some use.
Yeah, and I will tell you, I will also share with you that oftentimes the turnaround time for making an application is very short, because the county, we do have an internal process where our applications have to be vetted before we're even allowed to submit the application itself. But the help on the front end with drafting, for instance, like what I'm going to call the scope of work for our ask for the funding.
But it could be in parallel while they're being vetted by the county.
Yeah. No, I'm agreeing. Yeah, it would be a tremendous help. So let me ask that question, and because that would be very, very helpful.
So Marilyn, I think, I think, for example, I would be happy to lend, content expertise that I have relative to, the work I've done for a long time to help, any of the grant process, if it's, conceptual or, strategic operations or logistics for things. I'd be happy to, if that's possible, I'd be happy to help with that.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It would be extremely helpful, because just like in the case of the reuse center we asked for,
Yep.
we could have received perhaps some data that you might have, being
Yep.
in the business that you've been in for so long, that could have strengthened our application. So I will definitely check on that, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have access to a lot of data relative to a lot of the issues and justifying, both from a carbon perspective, but also from a cost benefit and community development perspective. So, and happy to whatever degree to share that. So,
Yeah, no, we thank you. That's a tremendous offer, because grants are a lot of work.
a tremendous amount of work.
Kind of important, though.
Very important. Yeah, there's a lot of dollars out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of money, and there's going to be a lot of money coming. So anything we can do to get ourselves situated, and even frankly, Marilyn and Kevin, if, SWAC can support, and, I think we're still coming to understand what we can do and how we can be most beneficial, but the support strengthening the capacity of your division to access these grants, I think is pretty critical. And that might be for a future conversation.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a great partnership.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Nancy-
so Kevin,
Nancy,
another
can I-
question?
one-
Dave, oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, just one more question, Kevin. Since that depackaging was not successful, but you're, I guess, applying again, would it make sense to talk to the grantee who was turned us down and see exactly why it was turned down, and maybe that would help in terms of the next grant proposal you're writing for the depackager?
We can, Dave, I think we can get in touch with EPA to request for a debriefing, so we can understand the reason why we were short of having that grant.
Thank you.
Okay, so Kevin,
Okay.
number
Okay,
8, I think.
Yeah, number 8, we provided your group with our organizational chart. So you will see how RRD is structured and the different sections that are involved in the delivery of services as mandated by by the law. So it shows you how the different sections that are involved in the delivery of services and programs.
So
Um,
Nancy,
Yeah, I saw that, Marilyn.
yeah, so what I tried to do is under each section, because we have a recycling section, a collection section, a bulky section, a disposal section, and a garage section. And I tried to just put some bullet points under the number of staff of some of their main core functions, but
Mhm.
that's certainly it's not a comprehensive list. It's just, I try to pinpoint the core responsibilities for each section.
Yeah, it was really, if everyone, it's in the email that I sent out. So if you haven't seen it yet, I really urge you after the meeting to take a look at that. It's very, very helpful, Marilyn, and I'm amazed how much can get done with the resources you all have. Bill?
Yeah, and I did notice today when we sent it, I didn't catch it the first go round. We omitted the scale house, so I'm going to revise it and add the scale house function, which falls under the disposal section. We have three-way masters, and of course, what they do is at the landfill for all incoming loads. They have to cross over the scale, they weigh it, and collect the due amounts. So I'll add that. I need to send you an updated org
Okay,
chart.
that was
Mhm.
very helpful. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Bill?
Yeah, regarding the org chart, I noticed that there were inspectors in 2 areas under the collections area. Are those the same inspectors that would be used for, let's say, compliance monitoring for like the better bag bill or the styrofoam ban bill? It's that, or is that not in your group and in fact is inspections done by somebody else within DOE?
Yeah, great question, Bill. So for inspections and enforcement of like the recycling mandates for commercial properties and multifamily properties and the various product ban, we call it product bans that the county has passed through legislation such as the polystyrene ban, this new single plastic bag ban, the straw ban, the we call it upon request, where restaurants, fast food places are not supposed to automatically provide condiments, napkins, and so forth unless the customer asks. All of that falls under the side of collections section where you see recycling inspectors. And
Okay.
if you notice, we only have 3 inspectors. We do have 2 vacancies that we just concluded the interviews for. So we'll be
Mhm.
hiring 2 additional inspectors here very soon. But that's still our total complement when we're fully staffed is 5 inspectors. And we have the whole county to cover.
Right.
And we know we have at least 48,000 businesses, and I can't recall how many multifamily properties we have, but I think it's close to 200. I just can't remember the number off the top of my head. It's in our 10-year solid waste plan.
Right.
So it's a tremendous
Mhm.
workload for
Right. Yeah.
only 5 inspectors. And each budget cycle, we do ask for funding for additional inspectors. We realize, the county realizes we need, the resources. But unfortunately with, the state's budget, the county's budget, we have not been able to secure funds for any additional inspectors at this time. But again, we
Yeah.
do ask every budget cycle.
Yeah, I just didn't know if it was your group's responsibility or if in fact it was sustainability or somebody else who monitored that type of
It's, yep,
activity.
yep, it's just us.
Okay.
Just us chickens.
Mhm.
Okay, Kevin.
Okay, so RRD is in the process of developing a program for on bicycle reuse. We're in the process of soliciting inputs. So um, we would like to discuss with SWAC's committee whose concern is on this area to provide us inputs on developing this program, bicycle reuse.
Okay, I think that's exciting. I think it's me and Bill. Is that
Yeah.
right, Bill?
Yeah,
Or the
have you- yes.
reuse committee?
Yes. Have you checked with WABA, Washington Area Bike Association? Because I believe they have a program that is, or at least I read, and I haven't been able to find the email. I know I got something from them a while back because I'm a member of that group. And they were involved in some reuse activities with bicycles. So I didn't know if that was some people you had contacted with to see what they might be doing as well.
Yeah, we're in the very early stages.
Okay.
The recycling section, one of the planners is starting the research, and I do know that some information was obtained. I don't recall the name of the gentleman or his organization, but I do know his service and program. They provide, they take old bicycles, they'll repair them if needed, and then those bicycles go to Africa. I don't know what country in Africa, but they go to Africa. And again, I don't recall the name of who that entity is,
He,
but unfortunately, the conversation kind of abruptly ended just recently because the man needed an answer in 24 hours as to whether or not the county would work with him or not. And, we can't give an answer in 24 hours. So
right.
our response was, sorry, but we can't provide an answer in, 24 hours, but let us know if you're still, an option, for further discussions in the future as we're working on a plan.
Yeah, actually, there's a guy in my neighborhood that does that, and it might be that same individual. I've spoken to him once or twice via email. We've been meaning to get together and talk about it more because I know I had attended the meeting that Eric Olson had with uh, back down in the end of August regarding the Maryland National Park and planning and trails and bike reuse came up in that meeting and was discussed. And I know it's something that Eric expressed because I spoke to him afterwards that he expressed an interest in seeing where that could go. Unfortunately, I haven't had the time to follow up with him on it, but I know he might be can be considered a supporter of whatever activities you might be able to do
Yeah.
with regards to it. So.
Yeah. So our question and to SWAC and what I approached Nancy with was, we are actively working on trying to initiate a new service or program in Prince George's County where, people can deliver their old bikes or unwanted bicycles. We then have a partnership with an entity, preferably a nonprofit, but an entity who would then, just like the durable medical equipment, very similar, where they then take the bicycles, make repairs, and they go out as reuse. So if you're interested, it sounds like you are. What we would then do, Kevin and I, we would include the committee in SWAC that works on the reuse to then start meeting with Jessica Moore, our recycling section manager, just to sort of get together, what the recycling section's research, share your research and sort of help develop our plan of what exactly it would look like, including if there's any costs associated, that then we would then move forward through the county for approval.
Yeah, because as it is now, I see a lot of them ending up in scrappers trucks in my neighborhood anyway.
Mhm.
You know, and at that point, it's not a bicycle anymore. It's scrap metal that's going to end up getting ground up into something else when it's still, from what I can see, what's left out on the curb. There are a lot of good usable bikes out there that just people don't ride anymore, don't want them anymore. And to have them end up as scrap metal is not the best use, to say the least.
Okay,
Yeah,
so if I hear you're interested, Nancy, what we'll do is we'll work on you know, the meetings with the recycling section and the
yeah, that would be terrific. Yeah, so just
Yeah.
happy to, I love that idea and
Okay.
happy to do whatever we can to make that come to fruition.
Yeah,
Okay.
certainly, I'll help out, you know.
Okay.
Terrific. Okay, Kevin, last but not least.
Okay,
If
another
if we're
area,
still talking about bicycles, may I just make one more comment?
sure.
Sure, go ahead, Barbara.
So yeah, our civic association, 1800 Homes, has been forever doing these twice a year dumpster days. And I have always encouraged that if people have any reusable stuff, to bring it to these dumpster days rather than setting it out on the curb. And then I have my horse trailer and take the stuff down to a charity type place. And we usually get 4 or 5 very good bikes each time.
Mhm.
And they're highly appreciated at any of these charities. So that's a way easier way of usefully disposing of things that you don't need to set up a whole facility to repair them and blah, blah, blah. If they just go to a place.
Yeah, Barbara, I think that there's typically a range, you know, of really good, high-end, very functional bikes. And then there's bikes who just have a minor thing, like they have a bad rim and a flat tire. They just
Yeah,
need a
no,
new rim and
the
tire.
charities are very happy to take if it's missing a seat, if it's missing the handlebars, if it's the brakes aren't working,
Yeah.
flat tires, they're still very happy to take them.
No, I'm sure.
And
Okay, so
apparently they get appreciated and used by the new owner who fixes them then. So in any way, it does keep them out of the landfill.
yeah, okay, terrific, thank you. Okay, Kevin, last but not least.
Okay, last update. So again, the division is planning to do additional outreach in the area of increasing food compost participation, and we would like to seek the help of SWAC to come up with this outreach materials and activities.
Yeah, so it was on our committee agenda to discuss tonight, is to, a joint kind of effort, I think, between our greenhouse gas committee and the outreach, Nyla, Barbara's committee, the outreach committee, if there's an interest, and energy to help, look at the messaging, and what's going on with what's possible, what kind of planning and strategies needs to happen to help increase participation in the compost program. Bill, do you have a question or comment about
Yeah,
that?
you had sent out some of the, I guess, current
Yes,
outreach materials, and I did look over them pretty quick, but I had a couple comments. I don't know if you want me to send those to you later, or do
I
you
would
want to
send them
talk
to
about them
me.
now? Okay,
Well,
all right.
if there's a general sort of bigger picture comment, if it's little things, just send
No,
it to me.
these are more little things. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll send them to you. Okay.
Okay, so I guess I want to get a sense of, you know, this is both Dave's chairs the Greenhouse Gas Committee, Nyla chairs the Outreach and Education Committee. If you all would be interested in working with Resource Recovery Division to look at and help with messaging and some of the, you know, planning.
Very much. I mean, this is something we've been begging to be able to do for years. So we
Well, here
thank
you go.
We thank you, Kevin and Marilyn, for coming forward and asking us. And at least I, for one, would love to be involved with that.
Marilyn, you were going to say something, I think.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just listening.
Okay. Nyla, is that something that would be okay
I'm
with
on-
you?
Well, I'm on board, because I've, like in the past, even with mailing out sort of postcards and informing the public via just talking and sitting down with like businesses, that sort of thing. Like I'm all for it. Like this is very fun. And again, I'm all for the outreach part because of course I'm on the committee. But yeah, so anything we can do to kind of brighten up the numbers and get participation increase, that'd be great. It's gonna be so fun.
Okay, good. All right. And I know that Dave, in conversations with Dave, he said he would be willing to help as well. So Marilyn and Kevin, I think that you've got us. Just again,
Okay.
let us know. We'll organize a time. Or if we do a meeting or whatever the process is, you think that would be, most expeditious and most helpful to you all.
Okay.
Okay. So again, I want to thank you all very much. This is extremely helpful and informative. And I think it's really helped us have much more targeted conversation, which I think has been really good. It also shortens what we have to do because we've covered a lot of material. But we're going to go right into committee reports. So Dave, we've covered a lot, but there's a few items I think still to cover. Dave?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm not muted. Okay. I'm just trying to think what we haven't talked about that we need to cover.
Well, I sent, I have a list if you want me to go over it.
Yeah, unfortunately I can't see that list because I'm not on my computer, so that's why I'm.
Okay, so let me quickly just go over, I think, the items for the Greenhouse Gas Committee. One thing I just wanted to mention, and thank you for the update on the issue with the beneficial use RFI. The other track, of course, is the pipeline project, and we are still waiting to get a response from our letter to OCS. I've been informed by both Marilyn and Kevin that should be shortly on the way. It's sort of a parallel track. County is evaluating the replacement of that pipeline, and now DOE has moved forward with looking at the possibility of probably a better situation with a beneficial use and probably more income, but those are sort of on parallel tracks at the moment, and hopefully we'll get more information from OCS. We'll have a better sense. If they know. If they don't know, then it's going to be wait and see. Marilyn, that about right?
Yes, Nancy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the waste sort, I'm very excited. Oh, Bill, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead. You're
You're on.
muted.
You guys come up with a better solution through the RFI/RFP. Is that something where you can kind of put the brakes on whatever central services might be doing with regards to the pipeline? Or is that something that they'd still proceed with their pipeline regardless of whether it was somebody else came up with a better idea or not?
Good question.
Well, that's a great question. That's what's to be determined.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that,
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to
Yeah,
say anymore. I can understand the
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
yeah, that decision will come from the county executive's office.
Okay.
Right. So it's out of all of our hands, but good question, Bill. Thank you. Okay, the waste sort at the compost facility. Can I just get a sense of people who are interested in getting dirty at the compost facility? Can you raise your hand? People who want to, oh, good, Kenny, you're going to come with, that's great. It'll be fun.
It's not going to be
Okay.
something done on a day like today, is it?
No. It hasn't snowed in years. Who knew? No, we're waiting, as Kevin mentioned, we're waiting for a date. So I presume it'll be within the next 4 weeks or so. Yeah, Bill?
Oh, no, I'm saying I'm raising my hand
Okay,
saying
okay, so,
I'll
all right,
be
just so I
involved.
have a
Yeah.
sense. Okay, I see everybody. Thank you. Who's interested. I'll send something out to everybody as soon as we get a date for it. So it should be kind of interesting at the very least. If you haven't been to the facility, and it's your first time, I think you'll find it really fascinating. A sidebar is if anyone has not been to one or any of the resource recovery facilities, and you want to see it, just send me an email and we'll think about starting up maybe some of the tours again in the spring for some of the facilities for folks who haven't been there. Okay.
Nancy, I just wanted to make sure you got me down as interested.
Yes.
Great.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, then the only thing left for greenhouse gas is the study. So Dave, could you quickly, where Russ stands with that?
Yeah, as far as, yeah, okay, as far as, I saw him just the other day, he's a neighbor of mine. And he said he's still waiting to get the, I guess, the okay. I think they're ready to go, but he's just waiting. And he's there, and his students are there. The other thing I just want to mention, going back just for a second to SWAC, I think there's a possibility we might be able to get some University of Maryland students to join us on that SWAC.
Okay, well, I don't know what, I guess we have to understand, Marilyn or Kevin, I guess from you all, if there's a number, like there can be 5 of us or there can be 10 of us, or what makes sense for that day.
For the
So,
wastewater.
yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't the foggiest clue. I
let
don't
me
really
get back. Let me get back to you because I also, since University of Maryland students are not SWAC members, I got to run that through risk management.
Okay. Well, we're not going to let that stand in the way. We're going to move forward no matter what at this
Okay.
point. If it works
yeah,
out and it makes.
Yeah, I would recommend to move forward with this next one with the SWAC members, and then we'll work on the next one to then include some of the students. That's
Okay.
my recommendation.
I think that, Dave, I think that's okay. I think we'll also have a better sense of the process and everything once we do it once. Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. I think one of the advantages of this sorts, not necessarily that we're helping MES kind of understand what is coming in there, but I think it's also good for the students or us to actually learn more about the whole process, and particularly the students who are maybe being trained in something similar or going through a curriculum. And I think just having them see what's going on, and I think would be very valuable to them, in their future, whatever they're doing as in their future jobs.
Okay.
Yep, agreed.
Okay. All right. So that's it for the greenhouse gas. Nyla, anything on other than what we've already discussed, education and outreach?
Just 2 things. First thing is I did email the doctor of the Department of Aging. Contact me. His name is slipping my mind, but he should be giving a response this week because he's out of the office today.
Ian?
And so I just emailed him. Yes, him. He's kind of young, and I was surprised. I was like, okay, he's got some fortitude, working with the senior folks. And so yeah, I emailed him, seeing what type of materials he can dispense in regards to the durable medical equipment reuse program. If he has any videos available that we can use in the teaching and the public education piece of what we do as part of the committee. And what else did I send? And I'm just awaiting that, and I can forward the response I do gain from him when he's back in the office. And also when it comes to our meetings, which are the committee meetings on the 4th Tuesday of every month, I'm going to do it through Google Meets. I'm gonna do it through that way because Zoom is giving me problems trying to do it from like my other account. I'm just not having that. So we're gonna find a way. So I just
Okay,
wanted to update with that.
okay. Okay, great. All right, great. Thank you. Okay, so it's 7:15 and I had wanted to start our discussion about some of the legislation. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bump it to the next meeting. It's going to be a full agenda next time, so I probably won't spend so much time covering the report, but we'll spend time talking about Area C. And I'm going to see if Martha can come and review the legislation. I urge you, the one that they're really looking, that I think they think is most important, is the beverage container recycling refund and litter reduction program. This is state legislation. It's not for the county. And this is a program where you would pay a deposit on the type of container that the beverage comes in, and then you would get the deposit back when you return the container. It looks like it's a zero cost program to run. Producers are going to be involved in it. There's going to be compensation for the county for potential loss of revenue, but quite a number of states are doing these programs, and the litter reduction is incredibly substantial. And we know that that is a huge issue in our county. It's the river's filled with bottles, the highways are filled with, these plastic containers and so forth. So, Bill?
I was just going to say there was an article in today's Post in the
Yes.
Metro section where they actually quote Martha in her explanation of the bill and stuff. So you might want to, people might want to check that out and see what was said in that article. There was apparently a cleanup on Martin Luther King's birthday of tributaries of the Anacostia, and they were spun off from that into the bottle bill and the reduction that it would have in what's going into the tributaries and of ultimately the Anacostia. I know personally, I do my trash collections every day, and last week for a couple days, I normally don't count the stuff, I just weigh it. Last week I counted, there was last Wednesday, I picked up 23 water bottles alone, 6 miniatures alcohol bottles, as well as some other beverage bottles. So that's in 1 hour of walking, 23 bottles. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, in an area where you usually pick stuff up.
Yeah. Well, I picked up the day before, so now some of that was a flush out from the storm sewer systems because we had a big rain that Tuesday. So Wednesday, there was a lot of stuff that had been flushed through the storm sewer system, but it's just what people are throwing out the car windows and it ends up in the sewers, so it's ridiculous how many bottles are being picked up or thrown away for whatever reason.
Thank you. Yes, what I'll do is I'll download the article and I will send it around to everybody. I think that it's being submitted and put into the legislative system sometime very soon, and I'll send out the bill number with the bill at some point so you have the exact document. I did send last time, if you look in your email, but I'll send it out in advance of the meeting in February, the fact sheets that the Sierra Club put together about the 4 pieces of legislation that are important for the work that we're doing. Again, the focus on the beverage is a huge one because the impact is so significant. So I urge you, and look, it's a 2-pager, but it has great information about really substantial things like why are we doing it and what's the cost. Those are 2 of the sort of key elements. So please look at those materials for the next meeting. So if you have questions and comments, we can discuss them and also discuss if we want to take any action, like make a recommendation to the state that we support those. So it would be helpful for everyone to really take a close look at that. Last thing is
Nancy, before you leave that.
yeah, sorry. Okay, go ahead, Barbara. I didn't see your
Just want to make sure that none of the bills that you are going to be bringing up are going to have a hearing before our next SWAC meeting, because I know some of the ones that I'm testifying in Annapolis are, like in a week and a half.
Yeah, I don't know what all the dates
it's
are.
important to check when they are, because we don't want to miss pushing for some of these.
I can ask if Martha has dates on the bills.
Yeah, or we can check it in the,
or what the,
on the state,
well, there's
agenda,
two things. You
but-
can submit testimony, but you can also talk to your legislator at any point to convince them to vote for it. So yes, I'll check with Martha on the dates on how these bills are progressing.
Right, but I mean, the first thing is which committee they're in
Right,
and.
and when
so
they're
it's-
having hearings.
Yeah, it doesn't help to talk just to your legislators if it's in a committee that they are not on. So you
Right,
gotta
if it
know
doesn't
which.
get out of the committee, it's not gonna get voted on.
Right, so I guess is what I'm saying, you might, maybe it might be wise to send that information out even before the next meeting, that
Yeah,
we don't
I
miss any
will.
of the important ones.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
And I think it's important what you said earlier, Nancy, that the main bill you're talking about with the beverage containers hasn't been put into the system yet. So we know we have time for that one.
Yeah, Kenneth, thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, yes, and that's
Yeah.
the one that's most likely that there's gonna be movement and a lot
Is
of,
that going in as both a House and a Senate bill?
I presume, it'll go.
Well, it depends. It all depends on whether or not they're working with someone in the
Because if
Senate.
it's not put into the system
cross-filed.
yet, it's not going as both a House and a Senate bill, it's not gonna have time to make it.
Oh, no. There's plenty. There's way more than enough time for that kind of stuff to happen. Whether bills get cross-filed or not is just it's a stylish thing, and it depends on if they're working with somebody, if they have a counterpart in the Senate. That's, as an example, the first bill you mentioned, the one that deals with the paint, that one
Right.
is cross-filed, and so I was
Yeah, the
trying to
paints,
peek to
that may pass this year. That was close to
Yeah.
passing last year.
It came out of both chambers last year. It just ran out of time. Because
Exactly.
I think the Senate put some amendments on it, and it didn't get a chance for the House to come back and concur with those amendments. So, but yeah, there's plenty enough time, and if I'm sure Martha and the group will be able to give us an update on who they're working with and if there is a Senate sponsor. So
Yeah, it says delegates Terrassa and Edelson are working on the beverage bill.
yeah, I
so-
saw that on her. Their fact sheets are just wonderful. They're very well organized. So I looked it up, and I know how to go through the General Assembly system and look and see if I can find the bills, and that one is not there, and neither is Mary Lehman's one on the turf
Right.
issue. But that's why I could see the paint one, because it's there, and I can look and see what happened last year. So
Okay,
we'll
great.
keep an eye on it.
Thanks for all that, Kenny. That's very helpful.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, terrific. So, okay, so that's where we are on that. Then the other thing I want to mention, and we will then see if there's any other announcements. Been a lot of concern about hauler issues. And we haven't had a way to really discuss them. So I'm going to create either a question, or I'm going to send something out to everybody to give you an opportunity to respond and get any feedback you have back to me. And then we'll schedule time during one of our meetings to really have a much more in-depth discussion about the things that we're concerned about and share that information with the department. So if that sounds okay, that's kind of trying to find an organized way to proceed about this issue where we can really target our feedback in a productive way. Okay, so any announcements? I don't know about any webinars or anything right now, or anything anyone
Well,
wants to
I
share?
don't have firm dates yet, but just wanted to give the group an update that the TIEE committee is working on our schedule for the year, and so our first meeting in a couple of weeks is going to be specifically focused on transportation. So we're looking
Okay,
at the cuts to the state's transportation program, but we are working on. We've asked DOE for a briefing on the Brown Station methane recovery piece that we've been talking about, just so it can be discussed in public. And we're working on trying to get update on the CAP implementation, And also, what was the other one I wanted to bring to your attention? Oh, that was for Barbara, but that's an offline on your
Oh,
speed
that's gonna come up
cameras.
eventually? All
It is
right.
going to come up. We're going back and forth
This is
about.
half a year.
I know it, right? Well, look, it's been even longer on focusing on the cameras themselves. So,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
So,
whenever they get it, great.
well, listen, I'm the agitator, so there is a lot more talking about rolling it out. So it should happen. I'm assuming that it'll happen early February sometime. You'll
Cool.
be asked to come to a meeting. So,
Cool.
Okay,
right.
well, with that
That's it.
mystery announcement, thank you, Kenny, for keeping us in the dark. We
No, as soon as
appreciate.
we can get firm dates.
Speed cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, speed cameras. Okay, I thought I was hoping you were talking about trash cameras.
Oh.
Yeah,
uh-huh.
they in some places actually put cameras to catch people dumping.
Oh, the county
done
would
that.
earn so much more money if from what we already don't through photo violation cameras. That's another point of contention on the Nextdoor app. I just commented on a post. A lady was talking about litter and she's in my neighborhood. I'm like, okay, yes, I agree, because I want to help too. That's my favorite thing to talk about: waste and litter and zero waste. I'm all about it. So yeah, I was like, yeah, we should have anti-litter cameras, like cameras, or like it's 2024. We should have cameras that insert or stick onto the poles or whatever other technology we already have, so that we can cite these litter perpetrators.
Litter bugs.
You know,
The county is
making
starting
millions we
the
get.
county is starting to develop some experience with that idea with on some of the right of ways and the off ramps where people are doing illegal dumping. And so they've actually, set up a few cameras to try to catch people at some of those sites where they illegally dump, just so they have some evidence so they can go after the people who are doing it, at least the people who own the vehicles, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
everybody. Well, thank you for a very productive meeting tonight, and look forward to we'll be sending stuff out, so keep your eyes on the prize. And I think it'll be a very interesting meeting for February. Please spend a little bit of time. If you're not that familiar with legislation, it'll be kind of an interesting learning experience. But conceptually, this it's really important to have your input and thoughts on this on how we're going to move forward on some of these things that are critical related to solid waste. So, and thank you, Kevin and Marilyn and the team, and the help for our facilitating our phone Zoom call tonight to the staff. Much appreciated. And remember, everybody can just email or call me if you need anything. And with
Okay.
that, I bid you a good night.
All right. Good night. You're
Night.
welcome.
Good night,